Hey guys, welcome to So You Wanna Play. This is a brand new series for people who wanna pick up a deck and just don't know where to start. There are many videos on YouTube showing deck lists, replays, stuff like that, but there are almost no channels that specify why a deck is good, how it's played, and for example, why you should play this card and not that one. That's why I started this series. This first episode is about one of my favorite decks, Subterrors. In episodes like these we'll talk about the archetype, what cards are good and why. Then we'll have a segment about staples, additional cards. You can't fill a 40 card deck with one archetype, for example. You need other cards, but which cards and why? After that we'll talk about how the deck works. Is it control, combo, how do things play out? Then we'll look at some deck lists that stopped recently to see what other people recommend and play. Now knowing the deck and cards, what are meta relevant matchups? And how do you beat them? And finally we'll talk about pros and cons. Is this deck really a deck for you? So as I said, this first episode is all about the Subterrors. It's a well-known deck. It's not in the newest ban list, and it actually got buffed by the hit on Sky Strikers. First we'll talk about the deck. We'll talk about all individual Subterror cards. You noticed one thing real quick that I wanted to mention beforehand. The archetype goes two ways. We have a boss monster spam deck and a control deck. The truth is, the boss monster deck just sucks. We'll talk about why later in the card discussion. For this video we'll be focusing on the Guru deck, which is a control deck. So, what is Subterrors? I'm Tetsim, welcome to my channel, I hope you liked the video. And let's start with the most important Subterror card that is not a Subterror card. Welcome to the Hidden City. This card, when this card is activated, you can add one Subterror monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, you can then, or that's the first effect. When this card is activated, you can add one Subterror monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, you can change one face down defense position Subterror monster you control to face up attack or defense position. Once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can change one face down defense position Subterror monster you control to face up attack or defense position. Then you can negate the attack. You can only activate one Hidden City per turn. So this is not a Subterror card, which is why we're starting with this card. The Hidden City is the most important card of the deck. It fetches all monsters in the archetype and it enables plays by flipping them face up and face down. So, as you learned already, Subterror flips face up and it flips face down. It's defense as well. You negate attacks, which comes up more often than not. You can also flip monsters to face up attack position, just let your opponent attack the monster in attack. As you see below in the card text, we see 3 Subterror Gurus. This is the rating for the episode, with a max of 3 Gurus. This card is insane. The next card on the list is Guru, which is why it's the rating system as well, for some reason. Well, this is the card that basically made the Subterrors the deck finally. This effect is real simple. Flip. You can add one Subterror card from your deck to your hand, except Subterror Guru. His other effect is you can target one other face-up monster on the field, change that monster, also discard to face down defense position. This is a quick effect if you control another Subterror card. You can only use each effect once per turn. Hidden City is the heart of the deck, Guru is the soul of the deck. This is the playmaker. Together with Hidden City, you can go from just 1 card to 3 cards. Guru sets up all your plays by searching your important cards. The Book of Moon effect is insane as well. A simple flip face down can ruin an Orcust, Salamangreat strategies, locking players up in their extra deck zones. This card is the only viable way to play Subterrors at the moment, so we'll be focusing this build around him. 3 out of 3 Gurus. Next up is Fiendus. So, this is one of the cards you'll be searching for Guru. During either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, then target one Subterror monster you control. Negate the activation, then change the targeted monster to face down defense position. So, you flip Guru, add Fiendus, then you have a negate. And when you flip Guru face down, you can search one other card. But Fiendus has one other effect. You can target one face-up monster you control, change it to face down defense position, and if you do, special summon one Subterror monster from your hand or graveyard in face up or face down defense position. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this is a negate of the deck. Although it is once per turn, it is still insane because it helps you set up. It's also recovery For some weird reason, they included both effects. So yeah, this card is insane for the deck, definitely a 3 off. The next monster we'll be discussing is Nemesis Archer. Nemesis Archer is a real simple card. It helps the deck with consistency, as you will read in the card text. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's face down defense position monster and you control another Subterror monster, you can shuffle that monster into the deck. If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect is sent to its graveyard, you can special summon one Subterror monster from your deck in face up or face down position. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this card is great if you do not have a lot of options. She can fetch any Subterror from your deck when she dies, and her second effect comes up as well. If you Book of Moon, let's say, a Colossus, then Archer can just get rid of the monster in a single attack. This card is really good and definitely should be played. But since she doesn't start plays, she's not really the best card in the deck. She will most likely be a one-off, although people are playing her at 2 nowadays as well. The next card isn't so great. This is Nemesis Defender. I actually had to look up what this card does because I just really couldn't remember it. During either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets exactly one set monster you control and no other cards, or when a set monster you control is targeted for an attack by an opponent's monster, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Then target another monster you control that would be an appropriate target. That card effect or attack now targets the new target. Wow. While you control a set monster, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. This is super specific, and it will never come up. There are almost no things that target this meta. Titan doesn't target. Dingirsu doesn't target, so this card is just bad. There's no place in the deck for a card like this. But the next card, this one is kind of weird. I'll read it. During either player's turn, you can send one Subterror monster from your deck to the graveyard, tribute this card and at least one other monster, so the total original levels tributed is equal or exceeds the level of that Subterror monster in the graveyard. And if you do, special summon that monster in face up or face down defense position. Okay. The second effect, if a Subterror Behemoth monster is flipped face up while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. You can only use each effect of Subterror Nemesis Warrior once per turn. So, this is the way Subterrors were originally designed to work. The next couple of cards we'll talk about are the Subterror Behemoths. They are high-level flip monsters, which is how this card works. You have 2 monsters, Nemesis Warrior and something else. You attribute both of them for one of the boss monsters. Well, this card is insane for such a deck. It's just not viable for the Guru strategy. You want your Guru on the field, you don't want to tribute it. You want to keep adding resources to your hand, and this just negates resources since it's a -1. If you're making a pure deck, this card is insane. Too bad Subterrors were never really a thing, and probably just won't ever be. Next up is Subterror Behemoths Staigo Kraken. This is the first Behemoth we'll discuss. They go all the way from level 5 to level 12. They all have the same effect, which is listed below. When a face-up monster you control is flipped face down, if you control no face-up monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. Once per turn, you can change this card to face down defense position. All Behemoths have this effect. The only thing different is their level, attack, defense, and their flip effect. So Staigo Kraken's flip effect is really nice. You can target set cards on the field equal to the number of Subterror Behemoth monsters you currently control, destroy them. You can only use this effect once per turn. Although this card is really great, we won't be focusing on the Behemoths. And since there are mostly face-up monsters on the field and link monsters cannot be flipped face down, this effect kind of loses relevancy real quick. The next Behemoth is Dragasari. You can activate, when this card flips face up, you can activate this effect. This turn, Subterror cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You can only use each effect once per turn. So, the last effect is still the same. So from now on we'll be skipping that. This card, though, it doesn't even prevent destruction for face down cards or Hidden City. It's just not that good. Here we have Humistrix. This is actually the first really playable Behemoth. Its flip effect, you can target one monster your opponent controls, banish it. You can only use this effect once per turn. So this is your removal on the deck. The removal effect is great since we don't really have any other removal on the deck. And the stats of the card go great, combined with another card we'll discuss later. This card is great, should definitely play it at 1. Here we have Phosphoroglacier, which is the name for some reason. As flip effect, you can send 1 card from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use this effect once per turn. A card so broken, yet so useless. This card is great for sending Nemesis Warrior or Glow Up Bulb if you're into that kind of combo deck. Besides Obscure combo, there's no need for a card like this. It's fun and it's combo, but it's just not great. The next card is one of my favorites actually, since it has a nice interaction we'll talk about. This is Volteric. Flip. You can target one set monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end of your next turn. Your next end phase, actually. You can only use this effect once per turn. While the effect is basically awful, this card has something great going on. It's a Thunder, meaning if you flip a monster face down, you trigger this effect in your hand. So if you're able to trigger this, let's say first turn, by, for example, summoning Venus, using her effect to set Guru from your hand and herself, all monsters are face down, so you can activate Volteric on hand. Then you activated a Thunder monster effect in your hand, which means you can tribute Volteric for a Colossus for some reason. You can do that. It's not really great, and it shouldn't be in the deck, although it's fun and it's cute, and I like it. We won't be playing this in our build, but it's really nice to keep that in mind. Here we have Stalagmo. This is one of the first Subterrors ever released. His flip effect, you can discard 1 Subterror monster, and if you do, draw 2 cards, once per turn. So this card is real good for pure Subterror, since you discard your high level cloggy monsters, but it doesn't fit into a Guru deck, sadly, although it looks really nice. Next off we have Speleogeist. His flip effect, you can target 1 monster on the field, change it to face up attack position. If it's in defense position, also change its attack to 0 once per turn. So it's nice that it counters link monsters. It's just not nice that it doesn't really do anything besides that. So slow, bulky. It has high attack though, but that's not enough for us to play it. The last card of the monsters, at least, is Ultramaphus. Flip. Change all other face-up monsters on the field to face-down defense position. You can only use this effect once per turn. It's a giant Book of Moon, which is a great idea, but it's just not really practical and it's really hard to set up. And again, link monsters cannot be flipped face down, so sadly this card just doesn't make the cut. So these were all the monsters, or were they? This is the last monster, and it's a weird one. This is Subterror Behemoth Venus. So it's a Venus, but it's also a Behemoth, so it's all the cards. I don't know. You can make him by sending 2 flip monsters on the field to the grave, and it gains attack equal to the combined original level of the Subterror monsters, times 100. During your main phase, you can send 1 flip monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon 1 monster from your hand in face down defense position to a zone this card points to. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn, if a monster this card points to is flipped face up, add 1 flip monster from your deck to your hand. All Subterror monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense for each set monster on the field. So, with 4 effects, sadly none of them can save the card. This card is just terrible. The idea of the deck is to have face down monsters that flip face up. This card requires you to send them to the graveyard, and it cannot even be flipped face down itself. It actually has counter synergy with the deck. Do note that Subterror Venus, the hand trap, isn't even a flip monster, and it's the only way to consistently get 2 monsters out on the field. Subterror Nemesis Warrior isn't a flip monster as well, making this card really hard for pure Subterrors to summon. The send from deck summon. So the send from the deck effect, the summon from the hand, is great for Shadows, but we're not playing Shadows. It's insane to remember that the OCG gave Spirals double Helix as their exclusive, and this is the Subterror equivalent. Let's just forget the card and move on. So let's talk about all the Subterror spells, and by all I mean 1. Here we have Cave Clash. All Subterror monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense for each set monster on the field. Once per turn, when a Subterror monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target one Subterror card in your graveyard, except Cave Clash, add it to your hand. Together with Humistrix, this card is really nice to brick with. I personally think it's needed for the deck though. While Guru sets itself back, you cannot get your negate back after the third one. This card enables recycling, and it's a Subterror card, making Guru a quick play. Do note, for example, there are some key plays with this card. If you have a Guru and another monster and another monster, you can attack with Guru, attack with one monster. Use Guru's effect to Book of Moon himself and another monster. And then the third monster gets a 1000 attack bonus, which is nice. So again, this card makes Guru quick play. You can search it as recovery. It's definitely a great one-off in the deck. Now it's time for some traps, and Subterror has 3 of them. Here we have Behemoth Burrowing, which was the first trap ever released for Subterrors. You can banish one Subterror monster from your graveyard for the rest of this turn. Face down monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects, and your opponent cannot target them with card effects. So there's the protection that Turkisay didn't have, I guess. If this card on the field is destroyed by a card effect, you can add one Subterror monster from your deck to your hand. You can banish this card from the graveyard, then target one Subterror monster you control, change it to face down defense position. So this card really doesn't fit in anywhere. It doesn't protect face-up Subterrors, the searching is slow and inefficient, and the Book of Moon from Grave is hardly convenient. This card really just shouldn't be in the deck. Here we have Subterror Succession. This is the newest card, coming from Savage Strike, so it's actually really new. You can activate one of these effects. Also after that, set this card face down instead of sending it to the grave. Send one Subterror monster from your deck or face-up field to the graveyard, and if you do, add one flip monster from your deck to your hand with the same attribute but a different name as that monster that was sent to the grave. The other effect is you send one flip monster from your hand or face-up from the field to the grave, and if you do, add one monster from your deck to your hand with the same attribute but a lower original level as the monster before it was sent to the graveyard. You can only activate one per turn. So, yeah. This card is great for pure Subterrors, but since we only play 2 flip monsters in our deck, like Guru and the Humistrix, it just doesn't really fit into a Guru build. It's great, but not needed. Here we have Final Battle. This is something else. This card has 5 effects, including just like Succession. It sets itself, activate one of these effects. Also after that, set this card face down instead of sending it to the graveyard. The first effect, change one set Subterror monster on the field to face up attack or defense position. The other effect, change one face up Subterror or one face down or face up. It flips face up, it flips face down. The third effect, attack and defense of one Subterror monster on the field become equal to its combined original attack and defense until the end of this turn. And the last effect, this turn the activated effects of Subterror cards cannot be negated. So this card combined with Guru, Venus and Hidden City basically makes the deck. It's versatile, it's not even once per turn, it has 4 or maybe 5 effects if you count the setting itself. It recycles itself, what else do you really need? This card makes a Guru 3400 attack and a Humistrix 4700 attack. You can flip Guru face up for searches in your turn, or flip Humistrix to surprise your opponent and banish a card of them. This card enables doing damage and helps you build up your field at the same time. It's really amazing for the deck. This card makes the deck. So now that you've seen all Subterror cards, as you noticed, there's a lot going on here. We have high level monsters, low level, control cards, lots of things. Let's first talk about supplementary cards and then playstyle. I've gathered a small list of cards that I've seen play in the latest events that should be either in your main or side deck. Let's walk by them and talk about their place in the deck. So as you see, we have a lot of hand traps right here. We have Lancia, Ash Blossom, DD Crow, Dimension Shifter. Let's skip Bancroft for now. Effect Fader, Phantasme, Bella, Ghost Ogre, and Ibiru. So hand traps are great, and having more than only Venus is really nice in the deck. Ash definitely is a 3-off, and the other cards are basically to your liking. Lancia is there for the Orcus matchup, which is still relevant after the ban list. Ash is basically the best hand trap in the game, so definitely 3 off. The Crow is there because I really like it against Orcus, just as Dimension Shifter. They both have a place in the deck, I think, because Guru doesn't really revolve around the graveyard. Do note that Fiendus needs to be sent to the graveyard for her effect. So while you can use Dimension Shifter, do note that it kind of conflicts with the playstyle. But since Guru is so versatile, you can pull it off. But Pankratops is here because we do not really have in-archetype removal except Humistrix, which is slow. So Pankratops definitely has a place in the side deck or the main deck if you really like the card. Vader is great, just like a permanence that comes up later as well. It's a staple to negate lots of great effects. Phantasme is nice because it's a 24 attack beater. Guru isn't as you've noticed, Guru is really great for going first because you set up your field, you don't really have tools. So this card helps fixing your hand for going second, which is really nice. And it's a powerful monster on the field, which Subterror also lacks. Bella is there because it's great. It's good against Salamangreat, it's good against Orcust. Ghost Ogre is there. It was there because of the Guard Dragon combos, and it's still usable against like multi-roll if that ever comes up because Sky Strikers hit, or Pendulum, stuff like that. And the Nibiru is there to help clear fields. Definitely a must-have in the side deck. Then onto the spells, we have Called by the Grave. The deck really doesn't die to any hand traps because all the cards are 3-offs, and if you, for example, have Guru and Hidden City, or Hidden City and or just Guru and the hand trap, then if they ash your Guru, that's fine because you already have the hand trap. And if they hand trap the Hidden City, you might already have the Guru. So there's really no good hand traps hits in the deck except for Ghost Ogre on Guru, which is insane. Definitely be prepared for that because it ruins your day. If you lose your Guru, you lose the match. We have Cosmic Cyclone or generic back row removal. The deck doesn't really struggle in control, but it's nice to have back row removal. We can play Mystic Mine. We can also replace it with another field spell to stall. It's definitely not a win condition or something the deck needs, but you can play it if you really want to. We have Necro Valley in here, which is also nice for Subterrors because we don't really play with the Grave. We only have Cave Clash, so Necro Valley is definitely a floodgate. We have consistency cards like Pot of Duality, Pot of Extravagance, which are auto-include since we do not really have an extra deck, and we do not special summon often. We have Super Poly for breaking boards, just like Nibiru and Pankratops. We have Terraforming Consistency, Absurd Goblin Consistency. Then we have a bunch of control traps. I put Compulse in there because people like it, I personally don't, but it's there. It helps with the deck, it helps with removal, so I get why you play it. We have Crackdown. Crackdown is really important. You steal one of your opponent's monster, and after that, if you flip it face down with Guru, the monster is yours. You can attack with it, use its effects. Because Crackdown is then not affecting the monster anymore, which is nice. You can actually steal your opponent's monsters. We have more back row removal on Heavy Storm Duster, which is a nice side deck option. We have Infinite Impermanence coming back to the hand traps. We have Lost Wind, which a friend of mine likes to play in his deck. It's a good card, negates the effects of special summon monster and lowers their attack, which helps by, stopping your opponent and kicking over their monsters. We have Metaverse for Mystic Mine and Necro Valley. Do note, if you activate Hidden City with Metaverse, you do not get the search effect because it misses timing, so you can add Hidden City for the next turn, but you cannot really activate it. Then we have the Solemn package, which are all nice. We have Judgment for Red Reboot or Evenly or anything that ruins your day. Strikes are great just for negating, like, their Link 4s, Link 3s, they invest resources, you negate it, and Warning just as well. Then we have one of the most important cards. We have There Can Only Be One, which is great in this deck because you really need to slow down the game. You need to make your field, you need to stop and interrupt your opponent, and once you have control, you win the game. And There Can Only Be One really fits in there because it really helps you with that. And last but not least, we have Unending Nightmare, which is more removal in the deck. So now onto the extra deck. Since we don't really have anything in there, I just put up these cards. These are instant fusion monsters. We have Colossus there as well for the Volturi combo, which I really like personally. So yeah, basically play 2 or 3 of the instant fusion targets, and you can play the nightmares if they ever come up, I don't know, but it's nice to at least have the option if you ever need it. So now you know the cards, but you don't know the deck. Subterror Guru is a control deck. As the name says, Subterror Guru control. Hidden City is a +2. Both Guru and Final Battle set each other. The philosophy of the deck is that you go plus while your opponent goes minus. As you can see, if you activate Hidden City, you can add Guru. You can set Guru, flip him face up, effect, add either Fiendus or Final Battle or whichever card you miss. Combined with the supplementary cards as listed below, you slow the game down to a pace where you can finally build your field. You can search your negates with Guru each turn, you can add Humistrix later, you can add Archer later, and after that you have a field, you can do damage, you can interrupt your opponent. You can super bully their field away, you can do damage using Final Battle, Humistrix, and slowly but surely, each turn you add resources because Guru stays on the field and adds more, and Final Battle stays as well. Your opponent just loses the game. So let's talk about Book of Moon, because you heard me say that a lot. I really like the term personally, and it's basically what Guru does. It's the art of targeting a monster on the field and flipping it face down defense. Guru's second effect becomes quick play when you have another Subterror card. Hidden City isn't one, so that doesn't really count. And you probably don't have any other monsters turn 1. So how can we use this effect? The most obvious way is Cave Clash, because it's face up on the field and it's a Subterror card. But there is a better option, because when you activate Final Battle to, for example, make your monster have combined attack and defense, or to negate opponents' effects that interrupt your plays, at that moment, when you activate Final Battle, you have a face-up Subterror card, which is Final Battle, and then you can chain Guru. So, for example, your opponent summons Foxy, Salamangreat Foxy, and wants to go into Banings to trigger their effects, and you have nothing but a Guru and a Final Battle. You can just activate Final Battle, say I combine attack and defense, and then you can just chain Guru, Book of Moon Guru, Book of Moon Foxy. Your opponent cannot link summon, your opponent cannot do anything after that. They need the one-off Gazelle, and they don't have it because it's a one-off. You basically just won the game right there with just one Book of Moon. The handy thing is, Guru doesn't need to set both itself and an opponent's monster. If your opponent wants to negate the Book of Moon effect, or just change something, you can just chain Fiendus to negate the effect, flip Guru face down, then Guru resolves anyway, and puts the opponent's monster face down. Another situation that might come up, which I really like myself, is, for example, you have a Guru and you have a face down Humistrix. Your opponent ends their turn, or does something, summons a monster. You can activate Final Battle to flip the face down Humistrix face up, but Final Battle doesn't target. So what you can do is you can activate Guru to put Guru face down on the opponent's monster, and after that you use Final Battle's effect to flip the face down Guru face up again to get a search right away, which is really nice because after Guru resolves, Final Battle resolves, you can just flip Guru face down because Final Battle has no real wording, so it doesn't need to target Subterror monsters. It doesn't, even the combining attack and defense doesn't even target. You can just say I combine one monster and then you just do it. It's the best card in the deck. So now you really met Subterrors, you kind of know how the deck works. So what does the deck list look like? Well, recently there was a PPG tournament in America, and well, Jason Garcia won the event. Do note this is post-ban list, so this is with Widow Anchor at 1, which is the most difficult matchup for Guru, which is why it is successful now. His main deck is real straightforward, as a Subterror deck should look like. You have the 3 Guru, the Subterror Humistrix, the Nemesis Archer, 3 Ash, 2 Ghost Ogres, and 3 Venus. We have the consistency cards, Extravagances, Terraforming, 2 Duality. We have Caught by the Graves, Hidden Cities, Impermanences, then 2 of the Final Battle, 3, there can only be 1, 2 Crackdown, and a Solemn package. So real straightforward. This is built on traps. It supports your main deck with the trap cards. Do note he's not playing Cave Clash. He's also only playing 2 of the traps. These are things that you can, mess around with yourself. I personally like 3 traps. I personally like Cave Clash a lot, so I'll be playing them in my deck. But if you think 3 Final Battle is too much, or you just break too much on Cave Clash, then you could just cut them out for different cards like Jason Garcia did. His extra deck is basically Super Poly targets, and Super Poly is right there in the side deck, combined with the Punker Drops. I don't really recognize the level 5. I think it's Cyber Dragon. I'm not sure what that above card is right there. I think it's the alternative art for Cyber Dragon, but who knows. Then more back row removal. Imperial Order is also an option if you really like that. Here we have the other top 16 Subterror deck. This was Luis Benito Avellana. Sorry if I butchered your name. He opted to go for a really different way than the number 1 plays. He mains Phantasmace, he's playing Necro Valley, he's maining Super Poly, Compulses in there, no strikes, only Judgment. So this deck is more focused around you can go second with this deck. Do note that Super Poly also interrupts your opponent's turn, so it's a good going first card as well. But he likes to have the option to just go second. And in the side deck we have the Crows, we have the Banker Drops, we have back row removal, the 3rd Super Poly, a Zombie World, which is also an option since he is playing Metaverse. And in the extra deck he only has Super Poly targets. So now we have some pre-balanced decks. This was the second place Ken S at the Whiskey Regional, Cerberus Games. Also Phantasme is in there. Do note that it conflicts with there can only be 1, but that's a small cost, small price you have to pay. Super Poly targets in the extra deck. The Dingirsu for the Crackdown on the Galatea, which might come up less now, but we're unsure where the format goes from now on. Here we have Florian van Brakel, a friend of mine who went A3 at the YCS, also maining DD Crows. Ghost Ogre is in there, Ashes are in there as well, Super Poly extra deck. So as you see, all the lists really look like each other. Some play more traps, some play more spells, some play more hand traps. It's quite versatile. Yuri Landsman, another famous Subterror player, also going A3 at Ghent, meaning Lost Wind, one of his favorite cards. And Nibiru in the side, which I really like. And here's my deck as I would play it right now. I also focus on hand traps. I focus on another one though. I focus on Dimension Shifter. I really like the card. If you draw it turn 1, you can just activate it. If you draw it and your opponent goes first, activate it. You won the match. There are also almost no decks that can really play through this at the moment. Like Orcus is just dead. Salamangreat is dead. So I really like it, which is why I focused my build around it. Of course, feel free to do whatever you like. In the side deck we have the Super Poly again. I have evenly matched for breaking fields. Cyclones for back row, Nibiru's for fields, Lancias for Orcus. Really basic, and as you can see, Cave Clash and Humistrix in there as well. Then, the next segment is about matchups. And do note, the ban list literally just hit yesterday, since it's Tuesday for me right now. I'm still unsure about the current meta, but I expect these cards to come up, these decks to come up, so that is why I'm featuring them. Whether Sky Striker still lives or not, I'm really unsure. It's still good, definitely. It was the worst matchup of Subterrors, since we go +1 and your opponent goes minus, but Sky Strikers goes plus way harder than we do. Each card of the Sky Striker deck is a +1. Widow Anchors, you take one of your opponent's cards and you lose nothing, so you go +1. Engages, add 1, draw 1, which is +1. All their cards go +1, you just cannot beat that. I have Orchestra right here, since it's still definitely relevant, even without Mermaid. Thunder Dragons are still at large. Grin Maiju is a deck, Lester is there, Salamangreat, Pendulum. These are kind of the decks that I expect to rise up this format, and I will be talking about 3 of them specifically. Orcus, which is a matchup won by the main deck, since there can only be 1, is just that good. Guru flips their Orcus monsters face down. Definitely now that's great because they don't have Mermaid anymore. They cannot just make Mermaid and summon another Orcus from their deck. If you just Book of Moon the first Orcus monster they summon, probably their plays will end real quick. Called by the Grave, the Crow banishes the cards from the grave, stops them from extending. We have Thunder Dragons, which, again, Guru outs a Colossus by putting it face down. There can only be one as an MVP again. Super Poly works great against 2 Colossus or Titan and Colossus, and Crackdown works as well because you steal their Colossus, use it against them, and after that you could just flip it face up, or face down and then flip it face up again. And here we have Striker, and I had a segment for this, but the bandits did, and then I had to change the video, of course, just my luck. Yeah, it's still definitely scary. Cards like Afterburner, Jamming Waves, they still ruin your day. They destroy everything you worked so hard to pull out, and there's no real good negate with Venus because you have to negate all cards of them. I just hope that this card deck just isn't represented that often anymore, and if it's not, then Subterror would be great, and if it is, then, well, we can still top YCSs, right? So, after all that, still not convinced? I have some pros and cons. The pros, it's definitely learning existence. Control decks are really fun to play, in my opinion, and they really teach you about the meta. You have to know each and every deck and how to counter them and how to effectively build your field and stop them. Subterrors has great matchups like Orcus, Salamangreat, so it's a really good deck to play right now. It's really versatile. It can do so many things, just so many. It's definitely a new contestant for the tier 1 category. The cons are, though, it's really hard to master. You need to know every deck, you need to know what you need to negate, when to use Guru effects, what you can pull off and what you can't, which is really just a learning experience. It's really not that autopilot as people say it is. It really isn't. Just try to stop an Orcus player with a good hand. It's definitely possible, but it's not easy. The deck has no easy answers. You have no real removal. You only have Super Poly, which is just relying on your opponent's deck. And Human Tricks is just really specific and slow, so if you want to beat your opponent, you have to outplay your opponent. The other con is that it's not great for going second. It's not optimal pre-side as well. I know if you side in the Super Polys, it's great, and you have a good matchup. And if you side in back row removal to banish the Crescendo, that's great as well. But that's only after siding, you know. If you go second, this format, you have to rely on cards like Phantasmi and the hand traps. So, this was my episode actually. This was Do You Want to Play Subterrors? I hope you liked the video and found it informative. I hope it helps, and I really hope that Subterror maybe someday win YCS. I don't know when that is, but I'll definitely play it and I hope to be there. If you want more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe. Please comment down below on what other deck you would like to see in the next video. I hope to see you there. I hope to see you all soon. Much love from Tatsim.